The stock market's going to be a wild one this week, folks. Get ready to get your flapjacks flipped all over the place this week. Oh my word, do we have some earnings going here, okay? Just wanted to record you guys a little video here, just kind of telling you about everything that's about to transpire and happen over the stock market over this next week, which is a big week. We're going to talk about Tesla earnings, okay? Tesla earnings are coming out this week. We're going to discuss that. I'm going to show you the numbers, revenue, EPS, expectations. I'm going to show you and talk also about the two most important things for Tesla earnings. So if you're thinking, is Tesla stock going to go up or down, the two most important factors I'm actually going to show you in this video. And actually neither of those is revenue and earnings per share. We're going to talk about revenue and earnings per share expectations, but neither of those is actually the most important. I'll show you the two most important things that will factor in for that stock. Also just want to kind of share a little perspective about the market right now toward the end of this video. So hope you guys enjoy this. As always, thank you everybody that subscribed to the channel. Hope you guys enjoy me just kind of keeping you guys up to date with everything in the market and what's going on here, okay? Monday, Charles Schwab's reporting earnings. I don't own Schwab stock, but I think it's actually an interesting one to keep an eye on. The reason being is Charles Schwab stock has been wrecked recently. Now, there's a lot of companies that are like regional bank operators and whatnot that you could say maybe they're justified, all the fear around them. Charles Schwab's one of those that is like, is the fear justified? And that's what I'm really trying to figure out. So I'm actually even personally going to keep an eye. I've never cared about this company's earnings ever, but I'm actually going to take a look at their earnings come Monday morning because I'm interested even because it might actually be some arbitrage there. Let's just call it that with the share price recently here, okay? Tuesday, a lot to pay attention to. Bank of America, obviously such a giant bank out there, definitely pay attention to them. Johnson & Johnson seems like actually an interesting time to be a buyer of that stock here over this next 6 to 9 months. As far as if you're looking for a value stock, a dividend stock out there, I think Johnson & Johnson's at actually a relatively attractive valuation. One of the most attractive valuation time periods I've seen Johnson & Johnson be at. So, you know, if you're in a search of a stock like that, I think there's a lot of opportunities in this market right now for value and dividend stocks, and I mean a lot of opportunities, but I think this one's actually a rare opportunity for something interesting there, Johnson & Johnson. Goldman Sachs, the only other financial related company I've ever owned other than JP Morgan. Currently I own JP Morgan. I've owned JP Morgan for quite some time in the dividends only account. Goldman Sachs, haven't owned this one for a bit. Going to keep an eye on their earnings there. Lockheed Martin, they're benefiting huge from what's going on across the world there over the pond, okay? Yeah, they should report really good numbers. Netflix. Okay, Netflix. So, do I think Netflix stock is a buy? My answer to that would be only if you are a super long-term investor, okay? This stock has already come back about 100% or so. And so I think if you're a long-term believer in Netflix, it's pretty much almost always a buy, right? But you got to understand, like, the stock's run a lot from last summer. And so, you know, they're going to have to put up some really, really impressive user numbers to have it reach that next level. Let's say take it to a $500 stock again or above that. So it's a possibility. It's just, you know, they got their work cut out for them in these earnings. Let's put it that way, okay? United, not really keeping an eye on that one. Intuitive Surgical, always an interesting company. They basically make robots that can help doctors and surgeons actually perform surgery. So it's pretty intriguing. Honestly, I see a day when, believe it or not, I see a day, I don't think it's right now, but in the future when robots ultimately are doing everything surgical and they just do it far better than any of the best doctors in the world can do it. That will be still in the future, but they're a company that's obviously on the forefront of that technology. And, you know, we'll see where kind of things go over time there. So I think that's an intriguing one to kind of keep an eye on there, okay? As far as Wednesday goes, Morgan Stanley, one to maybe take a peek at. U.S. Bank Corp, one to take a peek at. NASDAQ, not a lot of companies going public right now. Ally Bank is intriguing, and the reason Ally Bank is intriguing is this is another one of those stocks that's gotten hit decently hard recently, but the thing that's interesting about Ally is they provide savings accounts that are significantly above the big banks, like a Bank of America, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo's, banks like that. And so with savings accounts being high right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to benefit from people moving money actually over this next, let's call it 3 to 6 months, to somebody like an Ally, because more and more people are waking up to the fact that, oh my gosh, I could actually make money on a CD account, a savings account, something like that. Whereas for the past, like, almost, 12, 15 years, we've been kind of like brainwashed to assume and expect that we get nothing on our bank accounts. I think more and more people or in the masses are starting to at least recognize, oh my gosh, I could actually earn 4% on my money and be risk-free in a savings account or a CD account at some other bank out there. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Ally actually benefits for the remainder of this year in terms of some money inflowing, but we'll have to see if that plays out, okay? Tesla, obviously, I'm going to talk about Tesla earnings in just a moment, show you the expectations for that. We'll talk all about Tesla, okay? Alcoa, keep an eye there. That just kind of is one of those companies that let you know a little bit about how the economy's doing and expectations around the economy. Steel Dynamics as well. Discover, I just want to know about charge-offs. I want to know about charge-offs in regards to Discover and what's going on there. Zions Bancorp, that's one of those that's been hit definitely. So a lot of folks will keep an eye there in terms of that one. TSMC, semiconductor giant. Here's the deal with TSMC, okay? This stock is going to tell you everything you could ever want to know, okay? And the reason being is TSMC, they manufacture almost all the semiconductors you could possibly imagine. And so that's one of those companies that they're basically going to tell you how the tech industry is doing, how smartphone sales are doing, how computer chip sales are doing, right? Because they're the backbone of everything. Literally, they're the backbone of computers. They're the backbone of smartphones. They're the backbone of everything, okay? TSMC is. And so I think that's just one of the most important companies to really tell you how tech in general is doing, hardware, okay? And so definitely, I think it's always one to keep an eye on. I think the valuation is intriguing in TSMC, for anybody that's a long-term investor out there as well, okay? American Express, definitely one to keep an eye on. Charge-offs as well, especially in regards to that, right? Union Pacific. So Union Pacific, I've actually considered maybe buying that over the next few months, but the problem is I think they're going to have a lot of regulation coming. And also if there's a slowdown in housing and just the overall economy, that's going to continue to kind of weigh on Union Pacific, but that's more of a short-term thing. I'm more scared about the regulation part because that's a long-term cost. The economy goes up, the economy goes down. It is what it is, okay? Like you're going to have some economies that are great, you're going to have some, time periods when the economy's bad. But at the end of the day, regulation, that can hurt a company like a Union Pacific for a decade, 2 decades, right? If they have an additional huge cost. The Blackstone Group, this is one that is a lot of kind of like secret stuff being talked about of potential problems at Blackstone Group. So we'll see, okay? I think that's one just to keep an eye on. D.R. Horton, a home builder, if I recall, D.R. Horton they sell the lowest priced homes of any public company in the entire United States of America, okay? So if you want to know how the low-end housing market is doing, pay attention to D.R. Horton. And I got to say, if there's a housing market that I think could be stronger, it's actually somebody like a D.R. Horton that sells the lowest price homes out there, right? I think when you go above that, that's where you're having a lot of troubles and the backlogs are starting to dry up. And Toll Brothers is the biggest example of that, right? PPG, let you know how the economy is doing, expectations. TSX, same exact situation. You want to know how the economy is doing. Knight Swift companies, right? Huge trucking operation. It's going to let you know how the economy is doing. Trucking industry is in a tough place. A lot of the smaller players in the trucking industry or in relation to the trucking industry are going under right now and could continue to go under over this next few months. So that's unfortunate. But the big dogs, a lot of times the big dogs, they get market share during this time and they grow stronger coming out. Yeah, maybe their numbers aren't quite there in the short term, right? But they grow bigger and bigger and bigger and more dominant. You got Procter & Gamble reporting on Friday. It's an okay time to be a buyer of P&G. Just another one of those stable companies, kind of like a Johnson & Johnson in regards to that, okay? Alrighty, guys, let's talk about Tesla. Let's talk about earnings expectations. Let me share with you the 2 most important factors for Tesla earnings that are going to ultimately dictate whether the stock pops in a huge way or it drops in a huge way, okay? First off here, these are expectations for Tesla. So as far as EPS expectations for the current quarter, 86 cents expected. They did $1.07 in the same quarter last year, right? So a pretty significant drop is expected in earnings per share. As far as revenue goes, 24%. Now for Tesla, that's actually seen as a disappointing quarter, okay? 24%. How many other automakers are really going to be growing 24% revenues in this current quarter that they're about to report? I would really like to know, okay? Not very many, if any, okay? That's going to still be a great number. Yeah, it's disappointing short term, but we'll see what happens here, okay? Tesla's beat EPS so many times. I've seen them beat it so many times in quarters. I don't know. I almost think there's a possibility they could beat EPS by quite a bit. You got to remember, there's certain costs that go into their business model that they brought down. Also, do remember, Tesla's a company that always gets smarter about everything they do, right? So when you see them drop a price of a vehicle by $2,000, just keep in mind that some of that cost, I don't want to say all of that cost, but at least some of it could be offset by just production improvements, right? Remember, this is a company that just scaled in a massive way in the past, within the past 3 to 5 years. So imagine how much they're learning and have learned over the last few years and will continue to learn over the next few years. And also with obviously a lot of commodities coming down, there could be some deflationary things that Tesla's dealing with, and that's ultimately a benefit for Tesla here, okay? No, I think this is going to be important. Next quarter's numbers are going to be very important, okay? Because they're expected to have a re-acceleration of earnings per share growth, right? Rather than a deceleration, they're going to have an acceleration. And also, they're expected to come back with a 46% revenue growth number, okay? And so any guidance for next quarter is going to be really, really important because expectations are up there, right? It's like this current quarter, expectations are on the floor. Next quarter, totally different situation. And so I'm a little concerned with the June quarter. I'll be honest. I'm a little concerned with that. I'm not as concerned about this current quarter we're in. This is a quarter that I'm a little concerned with. Is I'm like, geez, 46% revenue growth, that EPS acceleration there, that one's I'm a little concerned with, okay? Now, the first thing that's going to move Tesla stock in a pretty significant way is gross margins, okay? This will be paid attention to more than earnings per share, more than revenue, actually, okay? Gross margins. And the reason being is, let's be honest, like Tesla's gross margins have gone to the moon over the last few years. They used to have horrible gross margins, and they've just grown them and grown them and grown them. You look at something like the 2020 quarter, right? Back in June 30th, for the end of that quarter, gross margins under 20%. Then over the next several quarters, they grew it all the way to the peak there, 27.1% gross margins. Now we've had three straight quarters basically or 2 straight quarters, maybe a third straight quarter of gross margins going down, right? And so we've got to figure out where's the bottom for gross margins. And that's the thing that can change valuations, change how you value Tesla. And no one really knows the answer to that question right now. Are we going to bottom gross margins at 25%, 24, 23, 22, right? Could we go all the way back to 20? I'm not convinced of that. But we got to figure out where are we going here with gross margins. And then can we ever see an acceleration of gross margin again? Can we see us get back to a 27% number, a 30% number, right? Something like that. And so that will be just clarity. We got to get on that conference call. We'll see how, in depth they want to go with that. The second component that I'm telling you is going to be super important here is Cybertruck, okay? And the reason being is Cybertruck's expected to start getting into some decent production this summer and then start scaling as we get into the back half of this year and obviously scale in a massive way in 2024. And this is something I think needs to be talked about a lot more from bulls and bears. I mean, I think there's a lot of people forgetting, and this is shocking to me that people are forgetting this. There's a lot of people that are forgetting Cybertruck is the most talked about vehicle in the history of mankind. And no one even owns one yet. And just think about that for a moment. The most talked about, debated, discussed vehicle in the history of mankind, and it's not even out yet, right? And so, we don't even know really what the sales volume is going to be for Cybertruck. We know they're probably going to be pretty big, but it's just I don't feel like it's being talked about nearly enough. I'm like, here we are. We're just a matter of in the next few months, this starting to actually get into real customers' hands, right? And then scaling into a lot more customers' hands and then going big time in 2024 and beyond, right? And that's another one of those vehicles. We got to figure out what the gross margins are there. We got to figure out, as far as the ramp, are they going to be able to ramp it much more efficiently than they ramped, obviously S and X, they should definitely ramp it more efficiently in those, right? But what about Model 3? What about Model Y? Are we expecting this to be, let's call it very cost intensive in terms of the ramp and, them to lose a lot of potentially money on the vehicles for the next, year or something like that. These are all questions we got to figure out and make sure we're on track here. And so I think this is going to be I think it's going to be talked about on the conference call. And I think it's absolutely important management, tries to guide as much as possible about what's going on here with Cybertruck. And like I said, I don't think it's been talked about enough. I hope it gets talked about quite a bit on the conference call. Because I'm just telling you, way too many people are forgetting that this vehicle is ready for prime time and like how big of a deal this is. And it's shocking to me. And I know it's been years since honestly Cybertruck's been shown off and whatnot. But I'm like, let's not forget. Let's not forget how popular this vehicle is really going to be, okay? Now, next thing I'm interested to see is just, I think a lot of these stocks are kind of been waiting to really get the next earnings to figure out, are we taking a leg higher or a leg lower here, okay? And I would put all these stocks kind of in the same category of trying to figure this out now at this point in time, right? And, as far as the rate of gain these stocks have had, some of them have definitely slowed recently, right? Up until really Friday was a great day for a lot of these stocks, right? But you look at a stock like NVIDIA, up almost 87%. This is year-to-date numbers. Year-to-date, remember, we're in the fourth month of this year, right? Meta's up 77%. Tesla's up 71%. Hell, if I just added that one for the fun of it, okay? 62% cosmetics company. AMD's up 43%. Apple's up 32%. Apple for 32% for a year would be extraordinarily good, right? The Dow Jones Industrial Average only up 2%. Now, think for a moment if we get some more help on the indexes. Think about, if the Dow and the S&P, let's call it, do a lot better over the next, let's call it 6 months than they've done over the past 6 months or something like that, right? Just think about that in context and think about what that would mean for a lot of these stocks. Now, the thing that kind of frustrates me is, you look at a lot of these companies, right? And other than ELF, right? NVIDIA, Meta, Tesla, AMD, Apple, such popular stocks. Not super hard companies to understand what's going on there, right? And just sad because I'm telling you, so many retail investors have missed out on this because so many of the retail investors obviously left last year. They dipped out of the stock market, right? They decided, oh, maybe it's not for me, or, they were just had no strategy or whatever. And meanwhile, I'm just seeing people like make a lot of money. And unfortunately, like, I don't think there's that many of us participating. I'll be honest with you guys. A lot of people are either gave up on the stock market or they're holding cash because they're like, oh, it might go down or something like that, right? Which is just never a smart investment strategy. You're nothing more than a gambler. If you just want to never be invested in the market because it might go down, like you just got to understand, you're just taking a gamble, and that's all it is, right? That's all it is. You got to always be invested out there in the market. You can always keep some cash around. You got to always have more income than expenses so you can invest every single week or every single month or something like that. But to be like, I'm going to hold all my money cash because, it might go down. It's not a viable strategy. And yeah, you can get lucky every once in a while and be right. And oh, yes, I timed out perfectly. But then more than likely what's going to happen is you're not going to invest your money back into the market because you're going to be sitting there and thinking, oh, it's got to go lower. It's got to go lower. And unfortunately with these exact stocks, right? I mean, my gosh, the amount of people that didn't take advantage of the deals that were given to us in the fall time, late summer, early fall of 2022 is just a long list, right? You had people like me that were stuffing insane amounts of money into some of these stocks, right? Remember the day I bought $77,000 of Meta stock? $77,000 of Meta stock in a day, right? So you had somebody like me just recognizing that they're selling stocks at stupid prices, so I'm going to take advantage of stupid deals. But I'm telling you, people like me are like the minority people, because a lot of people just got so scared from the whole market, they left. Or they were like, oh, it's going to go even lower, man. Meta to $50. Tesla. Remember, everybody was convinced Tesla was going to $50. Remember that? I'm like, what are we doing here, man? Eating chicken wings? Like, oh my gosh, okay? And that's what we saw out there. People rather eat chicken wings than, I guess, buy Tesla at $101, $110, $120. It's just like, you can think whatever you want to think, but at the end of the day, if you know there's a stock that's at a great value, you got to take advantage of that opportunity in the market. Because I'm telling you, you don't get those opportunities forever, and then you miss out on them, and then you become jaded, and it's like, it shouldn't be this high. These stocks shouldn't be up here. Next thing you know, you're full Perma Bear, and you're just, a negative Nancy for the rest of your life. I've seen it. That's how Perma Bears are born. If you never knew how a Perma Bear is born, okay? Because people are like, how do these people become Perma Bears? I've been in the market 15 years. I've seen so many Perma Bears. It always happens from they think they can time the market or they got scared or something like that. They'll never tell you the truth. They'll never, ever tell you the truth. This is a God's honest truth. Okay? They sell out of the market. They go way too cash heavy. Maybe they even short stocks because it's got to go down. We're going down. Then they don't get in. If they shorted, they lose a bunch of money on their shorts. and they start becoming very jaded, and they always start thinking the market has to go down, stocks have to go down, and next thing you know, these people are in full Perma Bear mode forever. And if you go so far to that extreme mentality, the next thing you know, all you do is stuff money in gold, and that's all you do for the rest of your life, okay? And I'm just telling you, a Perma Bear is not made, or excuse me, a Perma Bear is made, they're not born, okay? So if you think, does somebody just be born a Perma Bear? No, they're made over time. I've seen it before. They can take somebody that's usually optimistic and bullish into a negative person all the time, and the market just has to go lower. And it's like, okay, you can think that. Have fun. Just you'll miss out on the money that everybody's missed out on in the last 100 years. It's really up to you. Do you want to make money? You want to lose money? You want to make money or lose money? You know, you're optimistic. The stuff's going up over time. Recognizing opportunities in the market, or you can just be on the side and hope that this stock goes to this price because you want it to go there. The market doesn't care what you think. The market doesn't care what you think this stock should be. The market doesn't care that you thought Tesla stock should have been $50. It doesn't care about that, okay? The market doesn't care that Meta went to 88 and somebody thought it should have went to 68 instead. And so I'll wait till it goes to 68. It never went there and it never is going there. It's on its way back to, 350, and then it's on its way to 650. So where do you want to be in this game? Okay? That's just a bottom line when it comes to that whole story. But it's unfortunate, man, because I'm telling you, there's so much opportunity out there in the market, right? And, it's interesting because I think everybody in the market, if you see the latest AI investor sentiment numbers, right? We're neutral, as far as the neutral ratings, actually overwhelming right now versus bullish and bearish. And it kind of, even if you look at like the public count, it kind of feels like it's in a neutral position, right? I mean, it kind of hasn't done anything in the last few months here. We're just kind of stuck in the 1.4 to 1.5 range. Let's call it somewhere in there, right? Entering this year, the public count was around 1 million. And then we just had this crazy up move. And now we're just kind of in stagnant mode because the market's really looking for direction. Are we ready to go bullish? Or is that just a little short-term thing? Are we ready to go bearish? Are we going to have some major recession? Is it not going to really happen? Is it, where we're going to get that soft landing or a mid landing, or are we getting, let's call it a hard crash landing? And so that's what the market's really trying to figure out. And I think that we're going to get some clarity in this earnings season. If we hear executives of companies be a little more confident, that's going to go a long way, because I can tell you last time they were not very confident at all in the last earnings season. A lot of cloudiness, not a murkiness, a lot of we don't know where things are going. If we can just become a little more clear, and people don't got to be like experts on knowing exactly where the economy is going and their business is going, but we just need a little more clarity. If we can get a little more clarity this earnings season than last earnings season, I wouldn't be surprised if the market kind of trends up over this next few months. If we don't, and people are still just as scared, then, ultimately we'll kind of just remain in this like neutral phase of like, well, we don't really know if we're going to move up or down or anything like that. Okay. And so that's just kind of what's going on there. Now, I suggest to everybody out there, whatever you use to track stocks on whatever service, okay, add a possible buys list. It's just an easy way to keep track of what your buys are every quarter. So I update mine every single quarter. And so right now we're in the second quarter of the year, obviously. So I have my second quarter 2023 possible buys. I have 19 different stocks on there, right? Am I going to buy 19 stocks during the quarter? More than likely, no. I might only buy, 3 or 5 of those 19 stocks. And there might even be a stock that comes up here or there that I add to that list or delete from that list over time. But it's just an easy way of keeping track of an actual list of stocks you're thinking about buying in the next quarter. Very, very easy. So I would suggest everybody out there doing it. And if you don't know how to judge companies or, how to figure out financial statements, how to value companies, right? If you're getting a good deal on a stock or if you're getting ripped off or anything like that, then definitely apply to join my private stock group, the private wealth group. That will be the pinned comment down there. We take you through all that. So it helps you out immensely in kind of judging companies, good financials, bad financials, understanding valuations on stocks, which is so important, and building out like an actual great portfolio of, value stocks, dividend stocks, growth stocks, a portfolio that can get through the bad times, right? A 2022 year, which is one of the worst years we've seen in a long time. And remember, in 2022 at one point, NASDAQ was down over 35%. I think it was down over 37% from peak to trough at one point in 2022. That doesn't just happen. That happens once every maybe 10 or 15 years, but it does happen. And you got to be able to slide through that market, right? And so if you look at like the public count I built, we got hit, but we made it through. We made it through to the other side, right? And, now that it counts at 1.4 mil, I mean, the next bull cycle, we have a major bull cycle, that's going to go, to 3 mil, 5 mil, something like that, right? And then it might have another dip after that for the next bear cycle, and then we'll be on our way to 10 mil. And so you got to build a portfolio that's so powerful that you can get through those down markets, and then in the good markets, you're thriving, right? And so we can absolutely help with that and help you understand everything on the deepest level possible. I've been putting together videos in there, private videos for, years of content you get from everything I know up here, and I'm constantly updating the information and whatnot. So that's pinned comment down there if you're looking to take your investing to the next level, or just stay on the sideline for the rest of your life, and then you'll become a Perma Bear, okay? Appreciate everybody joining me as always. Much love. Thanks for being subscribed. I'll keep you guys up to date with everything going on in the market this week. It's going to be a wild one, and have a great day.